In the 1940s, dinner didn't start with a menu. It started with whatever was already in the kitchen. A loaf of bread on the table, a small piece of meat, carefully sliced. Maybe a pot still warm from earlier in the day. Families sat down together, not to choose, but to share what was there. No extra options, no second dishes. Just one simple meal placed in the center. Today, dinner looks completely different. More food, more choice, more convenience. But somehow, it doesn't always feel the same. So what did dinner really look like back then? And why did meals like these quietly disappear from everyday life? Because once you see what people call dinner, it becomes harder to ignore how much has changed. Let's go back to the 1940s and take a look at 12 dinners most people have never seen before. One of the most common dinners was something almost anyone could make. A bowl placed on the table, still warm. Slices of bread torn by hand and dropped inside. Hot milk poured over until everything softened and sank. It didn't look impressive. No color, no decoration, just pale, soft pieces filling the bowl. But in many homes, this was enough. Children would sit quietly, spoons in hand, blowing on the surface before the first bite. It was simple, warm, and easy to finish. When someone wasn't feeling well, this is what they were given. When there wasn't much else, this is what appeared at dinner. So how did something this basic become so common? And why does it feel so unfamiliar now? Because meals like this came from what people already had. And that was often all they needed. Not every dinner was served hot. Some evenings, nothing was cooked at all. A plate was set on the table with whatever was already there. Cold slices of meat taken straight from a can. Thick beans scooped out and placed beside it. Pickles added for taste, sharp and sour. Everything sat on the same plate, touching, mixing. No one stopped to arrange it. No one waited. People sat down and started eating right away. No steam, no smell filling the room. Just quiet, simple food that didn't need time. After a long day, this was enough. No effort, no delay, just something ready. So when did dinner stop being something you put together like this? And why does a meal like this feel so unusual now? Because once food becomes something you expect to be perfect, simple plates like these begin to disappear. And then there were dinners that looked unlike anything on the table today. A dish carried in and placed down carefully. Firm, shaped, almost too perfect to be natural. Vegetables set inside clear gelatin, holding their place as the knife pressed through. Each slice kept its form, smooth and glossy under the light. Cold noodles placed on a plate, slightly sticky, sometimes with a hint of sweetness. Nothing like what people expect from dinner now. At the table, there was a short pause. A look, a small hesitation. And then someone took the first bite. No one explained it. No one questioned it out loud. It was simply what was served. So when did meals stop looking like this? And why do these dishes feel so strange now? Because once food starts to follow familiar patterns, anything outside of them begins to feel out of place. Not every dinner came from a recipe. Some came from what was left at the end of the day. A nearly empty shelf, a small piece of meat, cut thinner than usual. At the table, portions were adjusted without a word. One slice made to stretch further. Soup poured a little lighter so everyone could have some. Someone always made sure the plates looked even when they weren't. Children noticed more than they said. They watched how food was shared. Who took less? Who said they weren't hungry? No one called it a struggle. It was just how dinner worked. So how did meals like this hold families together night after night? And why does this kind of table feel so distant now? Because when food is limited, it changes not just what people eat, but how they treat each other at the table. Some dinners mixed things most people wouldn't expect on the same plate. A slice of meat placed next to something sweet. A spoonful of jelly served beside it, holding its shape as it moved. Vegetables sometimes shared space with fruit. Soft, cooked pieces next to something cold and slightly sweet. The flavors didn't stay separate. They blended with every bite. At the table, no one stopped to question it. It was served, passed around, and eaten the same way every night. A child might pause for a moment, unsure what to expect, then take a bite anyway, because that's what everyone else was doing. No one explained why it worked. It just did. So when did meals start to follow strict rules like they do now? And why do combinations like this feel so unusual today? Because once food is expected to fit a pattern, anything outside of it begins to feel wrong. And then there were dinners that didn't look like much, but somehow felt complete. A small plate set down, nothing extra, nothing missing. A piece of bread, something warm beside it. Maybe a simple side added without much thought. Not a large meal, not impressive, but enough to carry someone through the night. People didn't talk about balance or nutrition. They just knew when it worked, when the plate was empty and no one asked for more. After dinner, the table stayed quiet. No second servings, no searching for something else. Just a sense that it was enough. That's the part that's easy to overlook. Because today, meals often look bigger, richer, more complete. But they don't always feel that way. So what made these simple dinners work so well? And why does that feeling seem harder to find now? Looking at these dinners now, it's easy to focus on how different they seem. The ingredients, the way they were served, the way they looked on the plate. But that's only part of the story. Because for the people sitting at those tables, this wasn't unusual. It was just dinner. Food that came from what they had. Meals that didn't need explanation. Something shared at the end of the day without much thought. Today, everything feels more defined. More choices, more options, more rules about what food should be. But somehow, that simple feeling is harder to find. So now I'm curious. Which of these dinners surprised you the most? Have you ever seen something like this at your own table? And if you had to choose, would you try one of these meals today?